My prayer was no longer his punishment. My prayer was allow him to reconcile with you, because that will be a real kick in the teeth to the devil. Not only am I saved, he's saved too, because no one has to go to hell. No one has to die. No one has to be condemned forever. If I'm forgiven for killing a child in my womb, he can be forgiven for hurting a child when she was 8.
Well, Rosie Rivera, I am so glad you are with us. I've been actually really excited to listen to you and speak with you today. So this is a thrill. And welcome to Canada. Welcome to Canada.
Yes, I love Canada. I love Canada. I've been there once and it's gorgeous. Yes.
Really?
We went to Vancouver. Went to Vancouver. The first time I ever saw a gorgeous bald eagle was in Canada, and I'll never forget. Just gorgeous eagle. I don't know if it was a bald eagle, but it was an eagle, and it was majestic.
Yes.
And so I'll never forget. Other than, great people. So yeah, thank you, Canada. I'm coming back. So I'm glad
so
to
glad.
be here.
I hope you do. And next time you do come up, Rosie, you'll have to hang out in our studio and meet a lot of my girlfriends, and I know we'd have a lot of fun. So, Rosie, this series that you're a part of is called SOS, which I love. I always think about Sting singing "I'm sending out an SOS," and it's in my head, the song, right? But I'm glad you're a part of this series, because this series really is about Summer of Strength. Hearing incredible stories of incredible people who have really demonstrated strength and resilience and grit and perseverance, and then also learning from some hard things that you have gone through. So I don't want to give too much away, but I want to start with your childhood and your story, the trauma and things you've gone through, and just your life. And then I'm just going to listen and learn, ask you some questions, and at the end, just ask you, for some takeaways and lessons that you have. So let's start off with you as a child. Let's start with your childhood and a bit about that. That part of
awesome. I'm the sixth child of two Mexican American parents. So my parents migrated in the 60s to LA from Mexico. My dad and mom were both very hardworking. We lived in poverty and had no idea, just because love reigned in the house. I mean, I'm the baby, so I was just extra loved. I don't want to say spoiled, but that's what my older brothers would think. Dad would say no one can touch Rosie and Jenny. Jenny is my older sister. A lot of people know her as Jenny Rivera. She is was a huge regional Mexican star, the only regional Mexican artist to sell out the Staples Center, like man or woman.
Wow.
Yeah, the only one. And after she passed away, another group did it, but she's the first. And we didn't know that we lacked anything, just because love filled every gap and every hole. But we did live in a lot of poverty. Dad always worked 2 or 3 jobs. My mom always worked 2 or 3 jobs. And our brothers kind of raised us, in my case, my sister. So when mom was working, I always wanted to be with Che. I call her Che. And she had been married by then. Jenny got pregnant at 15, moved in with her husband. And I knew him since I was 4 or earlier. So he was just a family member. He was like a brother. That's how we treat in-laws. They're family. So one day, him and Jenny were fighting. There was a lot of domestic violence, and we were used to hearing it, to that point where you heard thumps against the wall and you were just like, it's going to be fine. And Jenny went out to go buy some spaghetti for me. I had requested meatballs in the spaghetti she was making, and she treated me like her doll. She would say that I was her birthday gift when she was 12. I was an answered prayer to her. And she went to go get these meatballs, and I was playing with her daughter. I was 8 at the time, and Chiquis, her daughter, was 4. And her husband comes into the room and makes Chiquis leave, which confused me, and says, hey, do you want to play? So to an 8-year-old in the 80s who had no idea about sex or abuse or anything other than love, I had never even been spanked before. I said, sure, There is a respect and there's a love, and Jenny really loved him. So therefore we really loved him, and he was never mean to me. It was never, there was never ever any thought of why this game could go wrong, but he called it the love game, which made it even an easier yes for an 8-year-old, and began to touch me. So it didn't hurt. And for a child, usually something wrong comes with pain. So when there's an absence of pain and you haven't been told that this is wrong, you you only end up confused because it doesn't hurt physically, but when it's over, you feel just dirty. I felt dirty. I felt like I was hurting my sister. I knew something was wrong, but didn't understand what. And this kind of went on for about a year. A few times I started noticing that whenever him and Jenny would fight, I would kind of become the target. But again, I just knew what I felt like after. He was never mean. He was never violent until fifth grade. I was in sex ed class and I saw the human body, man and woman, and all the little girls around me were giggling and being shy, right? Like, oh, like, and to me, it was like, I see this all the time. Why are you? And it's not even correct on the screen. And I remember thinking how abnormal they were and then how abnormal I was. And it made me so mad to not have a chance to be normal is how I felt. And then I got so upset at feeling, what's the word? Ignorant, of feeling dumb because I was the straight A student. The one thing Rosie had that was different from her family was that I was super, super studious. Both Jenny and I were, and super intelligent. And so Dad used to tell me, you could be I used to tell Dad, I want to be an astronaut. And he said, you can do it. I want to be a teacher. You can do it. I want to be, the people that keep the city clean and pick up the trash every Tuesday. You can do it. There was nothing too high or too low for me. And so to feel that for a full year, I had been fooled. I was so livid that I threw up in class. That's when the anger came in. So then the next time he tried to do it, I remember vividly, I was the first time I said no. The first time I even spoke up, because before I would just freeze. I would freeze, close my eyes, pretend that this wasn't happening to me. I would go into like Claudia from the Babysitters Club. I live in New York. I'm somewhere else. Books really saved my life at that point. But this was the first time I said no. And he covers my mouth. And now I know that that's the moment he robbed my voice. He covers my mouth and threatens me. And he's not yelling. He's like hissing because there happens to be people outside, which is super key because sometimes we imagine sexual abuse happens when two people are alone or strangers or no, it's usually, from the research I've done and the stories that I've heard, at family parties, somewhere where the people are kind of entertained, they're not, and the kids are playing in the room. That's sometimes when an adult or even sometimes other children, it varies. There isn't really a profile. So I know that there was people outside of this restroom and he was hissing at me to be quiet. And he says, if you ever tell anyone, I'll kill your sister. Oh, just super interesting to me because he knew my weakness. Yeah. It wasn't killing me. It was killing the most important person in my life at that time. And he knew it. Later, I heard he threatened his daughter because after he stopped sexually abusing me, I got to a certain age where he was no longer interested or I was no longer at his reach. He started to sexually abuse his daughter. And I knew years later, he told her, I'll make you live with grandma, his mom. So that was her biggest fear. And these are people not only with authority, but that prey on the weak in the sense that they know our weaknesses. Not that I was weak, I was a child, but he knew my weakness and that's what he stuck to. So I didn't speak. I swore at the age of 9 that I would carry this by myself. That my sister would not go through this pain, that I would not have my mother go through this, that my brothers would not go to jail because surely they would kill him. And that I didn't even want him to die because then it would kind of be my fault. So I carried this weight on my shoulders of being everyone's protector and savior. And in the midst asking, well, then who protects me? Because Dad said no one could touch Rosie, but someone is literally touching Rosie. Like, I had so much time to think about
Oh,
this. I no longer played with Barbies. I no longer dreamt of being an astronaut. It was just survival mode. And then by the age of 13, anger mode. I want to kill him and then kill myself. And then my life is done. I don't need to do anything else.
Rosie,
If I become,
was there anyone you could tell, or you just did not trust anyone because of fear?
I could have told my family, but I was scared. I mean,
Right.
him and Jenny, because of the domestic violence, it was evident that he could kill her. The fighting got worse and worse, and it was both of them. So I said they'll kill each other. So I could have. I mean, there was friends I could have told, but then you think I'm only going to put them in a mess because what can she really do for me? Whether it's by the age of 16, he threatened. The same thing that took away my voice was the same thing that released my voice, because that same threat, he threatened to take away the kids. Him and my sister had divorced now. They had 3 children, and she was becoming a singer, kind of accidentally to us, but all planned by God. We didn't have
Right.
any necessarily talent. There are no singers in my family. My dad was just making, keeping us fed. And so sometimes he sold oranges, and then sometimes he took pictures at nightclubs. And other days he said, hey, someone asked him, do you record artists? Do you have a recording studio? He said yes. And he didn't. He said, I'll learn how to do it. And so he was recording artists. He accidentally became a producer, and my sister joined him. And so she was growing in her fame, and this only brought her problems with her ex. So he was going to take the kids away, and she didn't know what to do. She's like, Mom, what if they do take the kids away? What if I'm too busy? Because she was also doing real estate. So, and she was afraid, and her fear broke my heart. So I said, I have the solution. And I told her.
Oh,
I don't know if there's a right time, because I just decided that day. Today
just
is the
like
day. I
that
remember
today. Wow.
I was in sixth period, and I knew I had to do it or I was going to back out, because I had thought what if so many times, and there was always a reason not to do it. So I mean, I couldn't even write sexual abuse. I had a journal, but I couldn't write out the word. I couldn't write rape. I couldn't write it. So I didn't know how I was going to do it. There was no plan. It was just like, Jenny needs to know today's the day. And that was sixth period. And I walked straight to her office, and God is so good. God is so good that when I made the decision, when I was ready, he put everything in place. And he really, really did, because I did not have to say the word rape or sex or molestation. She just asked all the right questions. And what I take away from that now is, when you have to ask someone, the the easiest thing to answer to is someone hurting you? Because that leaves open space to take the guilt off of me. Did something happen? You can kind of say, I did do something, but she asked, is someone hurting you?
So, Rosie, is that a
And
good thing for us to note? Like, if we have
yes,
identified that there could be a situation that a child or someone we know is being sexually abused or raped, that you're
yeah,
saying that's a good question to ask them.
I would say yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I've thought about it over and over, and people have asked me, and that was a question Jenny asked me that allowed me to feel space, that give me the space to say
That's
yes.
good.
All I
That's
had to
good.
say was yes. I didn't have to go on. But before this, Jenny was building trust. Jenny, I could tell her anything and she would love me through it. And I knew that. Jenny was someone that chose to believe you, no matter how crazy the story sounded. Jenny was someone that would stick with you. Even if you were wrong, she would tell you, I don't agree with this, but I'm not going to leave you in it. So knowing all of that at 16, because by 16, I was already on a wrong path. I was dating way too much. I was drinking. And so she knew something is wrong. And she would tell me, hey, take it easy on the alcohol. Like, what are you doing? She would scold me if I got caught ditching class, but she'd also say, but I love you, so I'm not going to leave you. I just think this is so that really opened up a path of communication. So even before asking the question, I would say, make sure this person can trust you. And that
That's
doesn't
good.
mean you're talking about super deep topics, not all the time. Your 4-year-old can be talking about Dora the Explorer, and you give her the attention as if Dora the Explorer is the most important thing to you because it is to her. You have no idea. Like, I used to talk, my daughter used to talk about Lizzie McGuire all day. And I would just listen to her and say, and I would ask questions as if, because it is important. And so when I knew that my life was important to her, then I could tell her.
It's good.
So I was still scared, though. It is still very scary. But the fact that she would just ask me questions. And when I said yes, she kind of had a sense. And I don't know why, other than there was stuff going on in the world. There was a little bit speaking about sexual abuse in another area of our life. And I had noticed that my family's reaction was, we should protect this young lady, this young girl. And when I saw that, then I said, okay, if I speak up, at least I know that my family will be concerned and not blame. So your reaction to someone else's story is vital.
Oh, that's
If you're watching TV, if you hear it in the news and your reaction is to victim blame, is to victim question with like demeaning terms, then your child will feel that it's towards her, that you will have, and you probably won't. I mean, this is your child and we're talking about, but your child doesn't know that. So if you see it on TV and there are questions, valid questions, I would keep them away from the child. I would ask them in a more mature group or pray about it, but definitely show like concern of, hey, I hope justice is, I hope they figure this out. Let's pray for this young girl. Let's pray even for the predator. Let's let the truth come out.
right.
Because that
So,
way you're not choosing sides.
yeah. So, Rosie, when you're sharing with your sister, was there like a weight lifted off, or was there still fear and trepidation? Like, what was going through? Because it's almost like it's spoken out. I can't take it back, right? Like
Right.
it's out. Now what? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? What was going on with you as you were doing
It
that?
was like the earthquake that set Paul and Silas free. It felt like an earthquake. I mean,
Woo! Okay.
chains fell off. Chains fell off, but there was also rumbling. Walls were being taken down, but there was also destruction, and there was everything going into ruins, but with the opportunity of it being built again.
That's
So
good.
there
Yeah.
are consequences, and that's why I don't ever like to pretend or say, hey, the first time you speak up, everything's gonna. No, I still went down a path of self-destruction until Christ found me at 25, because not only was I in pain, now my family was in pain, but I never regret it, because there was this release, there was this freedom. I wasn't holding a secret anymore. The word says that when we hold a secret, it like dries our bones. That's how I felt. So when I finally spoke up and my family knew, there was also in that pain, I understand Rosie now. I understand where the anger comes from. I understand where like the pain and the kind of isolation and the not wanting to play with men like I didn't even want to play with my brothers anymore. We used to wrestle all the time as kids.
And you didn't
Now I
want to
couldn't
just
even.
touch them,
I didn't want my
hang
father
out.
to hug me. And so now there was an understanding of my person while not understanding the situation. So
Yeah.
it does help
Yeah.
so much, but it
So,
is also a process.
yeah. So, Rosie, here's the thing. So, it's so amazing that your family listened and believed you. I have a
Oh
number of
yes.
girlfriends whose family did the exact opposite. It actually still makes me emotional because when they were brave enough to tell their parents' response was, we don't believe you. That didn't
Uh,
happen. There's no way that could have happened. And to this day, they're still working through this incredibly difficult journey and trust and God, and it's very, very difficult. And so, what would
there
you say to that? Because it's like you finally, like I'm listening to you, and you've got this secret, and then you finally share, and imagine somebody saying, "Are you sure?" I don't think
That
so.
is
You know?
that is your biggest fear coming to life. Like that
Okay.
it is so painful. It is a different level of pain. And some psychologists have said that it's even more painful or does more damage than the abuser himself.
Oh.
Only if I think the only thing that can kind of like battle with that is if the abuser is the father. But if the mother, if they does not believe the child and the mother has so much responsibility, that is a whole different wound, and it can be more damaging. So I would tell this person that the truth always comes to light, that the truth does not have to defend itself. It just is. And that it is very painful. And I can only imagine your pain. I mean, my aunt didn't believe me. She was my brother's, my father's sister. And we weren't very close, and it was still painful. And there was a lot of anger in me towards her. It took a long time to forgive her. I think I forgave the abuser and then forgave my aunt. And that's so rare to say. So I can only imagine. But I've also seen that once you forgive and once you heal, and even if your mother doesn't ask for forgiveness, or your guardian, you will be set free in a whole different way. And
Yeah.
it is just you being set free from that I'm a liar, or I provoke this, like the self-blame that has been cast on because of someone else. They'll be free of this shame that I used to carry. It is a process, and I would say maybe some counseling. I think sometimes we need someone to guide us down that path. It's the
Yes.
question is, even if I want to, how do I do it?
Right.
How do I organize all these thoughts and all these feelings? And someone can really help you do that. Counseling has helped me tremendously.
Yeah.
For me, it was Christian counseling specifically. I tried so many things. And for me, the answer, it was Christ. With Christ came counseling, Christian counseling, prayer, a lot of prayer. And I thank God didn't have to forgive, say, my mother for not believing me, but my mother didn't want to talk about it. And that is also something, I don't know if it was the era or our culture or the I don't want anyone to see our family in a certain way. We welcomed this person in. But thank God my sister said, "Oh no, we're talking about it." I mean, I was giving the police report for the very first time that day. My family went
Oh, is
into
that what
action.
happened? Really quick? So you told your sister, and that's what happened.
That was another great thing. It's take action, whatever it can be, whatever God puts in your heart. Maybe it's going straight to counseling. For us, it was, we're making a police report, and
Okay.
he became a fugitive of the law. But just that action of like, we are together in this. Now, my brothers wanted to kill him, and we begged them not to. Like,
Like really,
it
like they
won't.
really wanted to kill him. This wasn't like something like
Yes,
they were just saying it.
they.
This is like they were going
No,
to.
no, 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 no.
Wow.
My brother, they were. I mean, and I knew that one of my brothers was living kind of the crazy life, and he had guns already. So, and they had already had altercations because of the physical abuse. So it was gonna happen. And my oldest brother, thank God, my oldest brother had been saved already. He was already a pastor or co-pastor, and he calmed everyone down. The respect that we had for him as a brother really helped us say, well, if Pete says no, then we can't do it. And thank God there was that calm, godly person that said, God's going to handle it. And
Yeah.
my dad was livid because my dad is not a believer, but we went more with what our brother said, since our brother had kind of raised us, and we love and respect our dad, but he really calmed us down. And my dad said, no, I mean, we got to do something. But my dad wasn't going to kill him. My dad just wanted us to look for him and turn him in.
And
So
he was a fugitive. So when he found out, he went on the run.
yeah, immediately. He said we were
Wow.
lying, but he still went on the run. And for 9 years. And in those 9 years, the pressure of finding him, the pressure of justice is what kind of sent me down of, I wasn't only
Oh.
like drinking to numb the pain now. I was drinking for the stress. I was a 16-year-old, 17, 18. I got to find him. I have to find him. That pressure was on me of justice. Get your justice, girl. And I couldn't handle it. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. And and still going through the heartbreak. And, I gained 50 pounds trying to make men not want me. And then I spent the rest of my teenage years trying to lose those 50 pounds because I wanted someone to like me. It was when I didn't like myself. I mean, the consequences that sexual abuse had on me, I was an 11-year-old addicted to pornography. How is it? Your mind does not comprehend how you like what you hate, how you want what destroys you. It is the worst. And there's this self-loathing, this questioning of what is wrong with me? I am really the dirty one here. But the word says in Song of Songs, don't wake up, love, before it's too soon. I took that later on of someone woke up my sexual desire way too soon. And my body didn't know if it was my uncle or my brother-in-law. My body just knows, hey, this feels good. But my mind knew. So my mind was always at war with my body. And definitely my heart was just confused. Is sex love? Love is sex? I was so confused. And that's kind of like where the self-destruction came. That's why it was, I'll kill him and then I'll kill me. And we're both done with this. And my family will just be fine. And thank God Christ found me at 25. I was a single mom. I was married to just some guy. He liked me. And it was not my baby's father. He had left me the day I told him I was pregnant.
How old were you when you got pregnant with your first?
21.
21.
I was 21. I was in my last year of college. I was going to become an attorney to put him away. That was it. So it was just part of the plan. And I ended up pregnant my third year at Irvine. And I was going to graduate early, which was great, but I was pregnant and I was hurting and I was abandoned. I was gaining 60 pounds with the pregnancy, depressed, and I was still getting straight A's just because reading really, really saved me. It was my coping mechanism. And by the time the baby was 2, I was really lonely. He wasn't coming back. I was waiting for him and he definitely wasn't coming back. He was dating someone while I was pregnant. And someone asked me, hey, you want to marry me? I love you. I'll take you in with your daughter. And I believed him. He had been a family friend. I had known him since I was like about 9, and he knew my whole life. He had been my best friend. But the third day into our marriage, someone stared at me in a desirable way in a bar, and he kind of lost it. He didn't want to lose me. So he took away all my clothes, like threw it away literally. I could only wear his clothes, and he was about 300 pounds. So
What?
I was wearing very baggy clothes. He threw away all my makeup, and I couldn't hang out with any girlfriends because to him, all girls were bad. And I was kind of like isolated. So one day, he raped me inside a hotel room because I call it rape because I was very verbal about no, I did not. He had called me the worst names you can call a woman all day. That's all he did. It was very psychological, like abuse and verbal. You are dirt. You are the worst. Right. So then now you want to make love to me. I don't want to do it. I'm dirty. And, so he raped me and then he threw me out of the hotel room at 2 a.m, only wearing his t-shirt.
Rosie.
And my biggest fear was someone is going to see Lupillo Rivera or Jenny Rivera's sister, and it's going to be on the tabloids. And that's just going to horrify my mother. I didn't even think of me. My body at this point had no value. I kind of was just used to it. And I just needed to not embarrass my family. And I knocked and begged him, please let me in, which has always stayed in my head of sometimes we'd rather be with someone that abuses us than be alone in our pain. Like with him, at least I'm not alone. I was begging him to let me back in because he was the only thing that I knew. And that didn't work. So I went down to the reception area and it was a very like little motel. And the owner of the motel says, get out of here or I'm going to call the cops. And I'm like, I don't understand. We bought the room. My husband is in, room, whatever. And he said, no, I know what you are. I know what women like you are. And I really didn't even get it. So I'm over here like, what do you mean? I paid for it. I'm not a thief. And he's like, no, prostitutes aren't allowed here. I'm going to call the cops. And I grabbed that title, which I had never done. I have done a lot of bad things, but that I hadn't done yet. But I grabbed it and put the label on myself and said, astronaut, teacher, first Mexican American woman on the Supreme Court. No way. I am a prostitute. That is what I am. And that is the day I decided I'm gonna kill myself. By this time, mom had already been a believer. She had been praying for me for 11 years, every day inviting me to church, telling me how much God loved me. I would always say whatever. I didn't believe. I didn't know. I knew it wasn't God's fault, but I didn't know he cared. And I said, even if I go to hell, like, because that was my fear with suicide, I'm gonna do it. I can't anymore. And my daughter will be better off without me. I really thought she would. And I started like walking the streets. I had alcohol and like 40 Tylenol in me, and just walking, waiting for someone to like rape me or kill me. And no one did. I was screaming. I imagined what I look like now. And not one person for 2 hours of me walking down the street at 2 a.m. said anything to me. And now I know that was God protecting me.
Yes.
That he will protect us from ourselves, from our own plans. Sometimes we're so frustrated because our plans aren't working and we get so mad at him, but he knows, I'm protecting you from you. I know the self-sabotage. I know why you're going this path. And so I finally yelled at him. It was the first time I had ever talked to him. And I was just like, you know what? Do what you want with me. Like, my life is yours. And I'm going to just lay here in the street. And if someone runs me over or kills me and I wake up in your presence, you know what you do. Like, my life, you see what I'm saying? My life is yours. And now I know what I was saying. And I'm so glad I was saying it, even if I was saying it in ignorance. And I fell asleep and I hear his voice. It's not audibly. It's in my stomach. It's deep in me. And all he says is, that's enough. Go home. And I wake up like one of those, and no one was around me. I looked around and I said, I know I heard something, and I hear it again. And this firm, loving voice inside me that was just like, that's enough. Go home. So I said, I have a decision to make. I'm going to keep running from this God, or I'm going to talk to him. And I swear I'm so brave. I will fight anywhere. I will face anything. Am I going to be bold enough to really talk to my creator and really lay it all out? Because that to me was boldness. I'm going to stop running from him. What if mom is right? What if in this crazy world, mama is right, that he is full of mercy? What if he could love me? I'm going to give it a shot. So I answered him, well, where's my home? Like, I'll listen. I'll do it. But
good question. That's a good question. Where are you going? Are you going back to this husband in the motel? What is home? Yeah. Good question.
Or do I go home and feel like a failure? Like my mom's home and I'm only going to make her suffer again. She suffered so much in my teen years. But where am I received and accepted? I know me. I was still addicted to porn, super deep in like alcohol, probably dependent on drugs, the only thing I had on me was like, I'm going to make it through college. I was in law school at that time and I was like a functioning mess, but I was confused sexually. I had been way too promiscuous, and now I was dabbing into women because I didn't know. I had an abortion at 17 that really was killing me inside.